All right, we're back with another very special edition. Our special guest is, of course, the bassist and the longest acting running member of the mighty Judas Priest. It is the one and only Ian Hill.
Hi, how's it going?
Ian, so great to see you from Toronto to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
We we are celebrating, of course, the mighty Judas Priest and Alice Cooper tour, but also the release of War Pigs, the amazing cover of the Sabbath classic recorded shortly before the passing of the one and only, the late great Ozzy Osbourne. Talk about how special this recording and the fact that you could include Ozzy on it is.
I know, yeah, it was a unique opportunity, in view of what happened just afterwards. Um, Sharon got in touch with us sometime before and asked us to do the celebratory thing in Birmingham in the UK. But we couldn't do that because we'd just committed to playing with the Scorpions for their 60th anniversary up in Hanover in Germany. So we said, well, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll record one of Sabbath's songs, and that was the one we play that song before every show. It just lets people know that we're on stage or we're about to go on stage and gets them out of the bar.
Oh, wow.
So that was the perfect choice. And we went ahead and did it. Great fun, really great fun doing it. And then come up with the idea of making it a charity single and having Ozzy perform on it as well. So the Osborne camp sent us over some vocals, and our producer Andy Sneap slotted them in, yeah, and that's what we got. And it sounds absolutely great. It really does.
It's
Really, really
super.
proud of it.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. And let's talk about those early roots because Sabbath and Priest come from, late 60s into the turning of 1970, in Birmingham. And there are some parallels. Obviously, early on, Priest was formed in 69. Al Atkins, Brian Stapenhill, John Perry, John Partridge. But I know they auditioned your childhood friend, Kenneth K.K. Downing, but turned him down in favor of a young Ernest Shadoway, who also had played with the Sabbath guys in Earth. And
Yeah,
of course, Stapenhill had chosen the name Judas Priest from the Bob Dylan song, The
that's
Ballad
right.
of Frankie Lee and Judas Priest on the John Wesley Harding album. And then, of course, they changed drummers, changed bass players. Here comes you and your childhood mate, Kenneth K.K. Downing, from a group called Freight. Talk about when Al Atkins found you guys and formed the nucleus of what became what we know as Priest.
Yeah, I mean, we were just learning at the time. At that time, I was 16, I think I was the only one that had actually performed on stage, and that was only in front of a handful of people. So Ken, myself, and the drummer John Ellis, we were just learning the trade basically. And there's a great rehearsal venue in just outside of Birmingham, a place called Wensbury, and called Holy Joe's, and we used to record there. Now, in the meantime, the original Judas Priest with Stapenhill and the rest of them had split up, and Al Atkins came down to Holy Joe's to see if anybody was around, and he walked past our door, sort of liked what he heard, and came in and asked us if we wanted a vocalist. And the rest of us couldn't really hold down much of a tune, so he says yes. It also got a bit of a name, because Judas Priest had been around, and they got a bit of a reputation, at least locally. So it was a great move. That must have been sometime during fall, maybe summertime in 1970. Um, we practiced for the rest of the year then, changed the set list around, put new songs in, a couple of original ones. And by early 71, we were ready to go. But that's when we realized that Freight was a pretty awful name. Thinking around, trying to think of something better. And after a lot of head scratching, Alan says, why don't I call up Brian? and see if he minds us using Judas Priest. And we all said, well, yeah, because Judas Priest is already known. And that's where he came from, we called Brian. Brian didn't mind, and we sort of inherited the name of him.
Well, it's amazing that when Moore left and was replaced by Chris Campbell, they were working with Black Sabbath's Tony Iommi's management agency. So there's some parallels there, and why Al continued to write for the band. Um, Whiskey Woman, which became Victim of Changes. Next thing you know, you are dating Rob Halford's sister.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting how it all kind of came together. When did you know that you needed a new vocalist to replace Al?
Well, we weren't earning any money, basically, we were all on benefits, doing our best, living off family and girlfriends and whatever, And Alan's wife got pregnant. And of course, he had to suddenly he's got responsibilities, and he had to go out and get a proper job. And of course, that was pretty much the end of him being with the band. Chris Campbell, he left at the same time. And as you say, I was dating Rob's sister Sue, and she said, "Well, why don't you give my brother a go?" Neither of us had seen him perform. We'd heard of his reputation and what have you. So we did, and the rest is history. So it was. Just after that, that was in '73, sort of late '73 and '74. We managed to get our first record deal, and just a matter of weeks probably. That's when we asked Glenn to join as well, and that was the trademark lineup from then. The two guitar, bass, drums, and vocals, which it still is today.
And where did you know Glenn from? Was he playing in another local band?
Yeah, he was playing with a band called Flying Hat Band, and we'd actually done a couple of gigs with them, around the local area. And we saw Glenn, we knew he was a damn good guitarist, And it was a record company suggested, why don't you get another musician? They said they suggested a sax player, and we thought, no, I don't think so. So anyway, we bumped into Glenn in one of the music stores in Birmingham. That's what you did in those days. You went and hung around the music stores, and he was asked to join, and yeah, he thought about it for a day or two, and then decided to come and join us.
Well, I understand that the Flying Hat Band was also managed by Iommi's agency, so more parallels indeed. Now,
I think so, yeah. There's also Rick Lee as well from
oh
10 years
wow,
after. He was involved in that as well.
okay. Now I
Um,
know that obviously Sabbath, came up around the same time, '68 into '69. Tony and Bill Ward found Geezer and Ozzy. It started out the folk band and then into Earth. And then there was another band named Earth. So they looked across the street and there was a movie playing, and it was Boris Karloff in the movie Black Sabbath. When did you first hear of this band Black Sabbath? And did their debut album inspire you guys being another local band?
yeah, we heard of him immediately. I mean, well, even today you keep your ear to the ground, don't you? And their debut album came out. It was John Ellis, the first drummer, actually, that went out and bought it, and he became a fan. And of course, we all heard it and thought it was great. Um, of course, it wasn't heavy metal. Heavy metal didn't exist in those days. It was sort of progressive rock or heavy rock. Pardon me. Yeah, I suppose we thought that's a great direction to go in. I mean, we were thinking along the same lines anyway. We'd already thought, well, everybody's playing sort of blues music and what have you, so we made a conscious effort to steer away from the 12 bar format, and stick with other time codes and what have you. And yeah, so I suppose they did influence a little bit, yeah. But we sort of ran in parallel. They were a year before us, and
Sure.
and everyone, all the record companies were looking for heavy acts at the time, and of course they were up before us in the queue. And by the time we were ready, it was. everybody had got their heavy rock band, you know. That's why it took us another couple of years to gain a deal.
Well, fortunately, Sabbath happened because Tony Iommi actually in '68 December had joined Jethro Tull, and fortunately that didn't
Yeah.
work out, and he came back to his band. But if it did work out, you wonder how history may have changed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love Jethro Tull. I think they're a great band, you know. I've got several of their albums dating right the way back to the late '60s, you know, when they started out. I went to see them live on many occasions. I didn't never saw them with Tony. I saw them with their other guitarist, Mick Abrams, who was then
Yes,
he left and Martin Barr took over from him, you know. But yeah, it would have been a different sound altogether, I think, if Tony had stayed with them.
absolutely. When did you first see Black Sabbath live?
We actually played with them.
Okay.
So it was pretty early. I can't remember the exact date, but it was pretty early on, you know. And they were awesome live, you know. They were a great live band. Well, they always were, you know. And yeah, knocked out by them. They were a great band.
Wow. Will you go and make the first album, Rockarola, which has recently been remixed, remastered, but then, Sad Wings of Destiny in '75 really put the band on the course of what we know today. Obviously, um, Rockfield Studios in Wales, a bigger sound, a great, song, The Ripper, and
Yeah.
Sad Wings of Destiny. It's pretty amazing. What did you feel the band had um, grown, by Sad Wings of Destiny into Sin After Sin?
Yeah, well, we'd matured musically. We also had a little bit more time as well on this album. The first album was rushed, it really was. Things were let go. I think that the producer of Rock and Roller, Roger Bain, I think he was frustrated as well. You know, we were actually working on the night shift. We were working throughout the night because studio time is cheaper. But with the coming of the second album, we did some of it at Rockfield and some of it at Morgan Studios in London. And we had more time, a little bit more leeway. You know, we also had different producers in Jeff Calvert and Max West. And obviously, you know, we were all more mature then, and we knew what sounded good, what didn't sound good, and we didn't let things go as we did on the first album. You know, you leave it and you think, I could have done better than that, you know. But time is short. But we had a little bit more time with the second album, and it showed. You know, it was better in all respects. Better produced, better sounding, and the material was better as well. You know.
Well, then you step it up even to the next level. Stained Class, really puts you on the map internationally. And interesting, it's when we look back at the trial for Better by You, Better by Me, the trial you guys had to endure that was brought against the band that these two young men had created this suicide pact, and their parents tried to blame your music to cause them. I know it was difficult times looking back, going through that trial, and it certainly could have altered the course of so much music at that point. But what was your memories of that period in the trial?
Well, if you go back to 1978, have you ever heard of subliminal messages? Because we hadn't,
Yeah.
which is what we were accused of putting on the song. You know,
Yeah,
it's a
you play
subliminal
stuff
message.
backwards, you can hear all sorts of things that might
Oh, there's all
sound
kinds
like
of
something.
comedic things. You play anything, you play this conversation back, and you'll find things that you know. Um, but the thing was, I don't think it was so much the parents as the church group they belonged to. I
Okay.
think the case. There was a lot of little inner politics going on there, you know. Even the policeman that found the two lads after the event, he was a member of the same church group as well, apparently. The judge was a devout Mormon, so he got a sort of church sort of background as well. Um, and of course, it was they said there's a subliminal message on that song. And you say, well, I can't hear it. And they say, oh, that's because it's subliminal. And then it's up to you to prove that something you can't hear isn't there. That's how stupid it was. And really, we treated the whole thing as a bit of a joke right up until the day we were in court, and we thought, Christ, they're serious about this, you know. And they had some very good lawyers. And after some days, we going out of the court thinking, we're guilty, we did it, knowing in full well that we didn't. And and it went from there. I think, though, after about probably the fourth or fifth day in court, I think the judge realised that he'd made a mistake. Um, because anything that you can hear is protected by your amendments. You know the freedom of speech and what have you. So it was covered by that. So they couldn't really do us for that. So they had to insist that it was. As soon as they said this is what it is and you could hear it, it wasn't an offence. I think the judge realised that quite early on, and he went on for another. It went on for about 4 weeks, I believe, and they did the only thing that they could do. They threw it out. There was nothing there intentionally meant to. I mean, what would you do that for anyway? If you got the secret to sort of subliminally giving someone a message, it'll be buy a ticket to the show or go buy
Right.
the album.
Something
You wouldn't have
positive.
gone blow yourself away.
Yeah. Go play these lottery numbers or something.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
So yeah, I mean, it didn't make any difference to us, to the reputation of the band, one way or another. We were thinking, Christ, we're
yeah.
in trouble here.
Well, like
It
they
didn't make.
say, any publicity is good publicity. In a way, it made the band even more known. But obviously, here comes Killing Machine, known as Hellbent for Leather here in America, and then of course the Unleashed in the East live album and British Steel, which broke everything wide open, Screaming for Vengeance onward. Of course, the US Festival, what a highlight of the band performing near 300,000 people right here in Southern California. Must have been a real
Yeah,
treat.
yeah, that was amazing. That was another show we were with Ozzy. Ozzy was on as well.
Yes, Ozzy, Van Halen, uh,
That's right.
yeah, Scorpions,
Scorpions. That's it. Yeah, I keep on forgetting about the
yeah,
Scorpions. They were on there
Van
too.
Halen. Everybody was there.
Yeah,
I was
it
working
was a
that
great,
show. Yeah, what a great
yeah,
time.
great gig. Yeah, absolutely great gig.
Yeah, but you go back with the Alice Cooper band many years in '91 after the court case. Here comes the rock and roll Operation Rock and Roll tour with
That's right. Yeah,
Motorhead and Metal Church, and it was celebrating the U.S. The war in Gulf, the Gulf War, the U.S. troops.
that's right. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and of course, Alice Cooper is another survivor, like Sabbath, like Priest, and you guys both put on quite a production. I was at your last show here in Southern California, and I know this. You guys have stepped it up, of course, with this co-headline and arena show. What can you say about the mutual admiration between Alice Cooper and Judas Priest?
It is. I mean, I can remember being at Holy Joel's rehearsing, in the early days, and of course, Schools Out is playing on everywhere you went. We're playing Schools Out, and we admired him from that point onwards. And it's been. I think that was the first time we played together on that tour. But we've always kept abreast of his music. He's always been an impressive performer. The music's always been phenomenal as well. And it was a great time. I mean, we jumped at the chance. We just come off the Painkiller tour, and somebody said you got a chance of this tour with Alice Cooper. Bam, that was a great lineup as well. Ourselves, Alice, of course, Motorhead was on there with the great Lemmy,
Yes,
Metal Church, as you say, and Dangerous Toys were on as well. I think it was
that's
Dangerous
right.
Toys, the other band, and that was a great bill, and a great load of fun doing that. Unfortunately, the last show was the last one that Rob did before he went off and did his own thing.
Oh wow.
But it was a great tour, yeah. We're reliving that right now. It's great. We got COC opening up for us as well, another great band,
Uh-huh.
and we were sort of reliving those days. It's great. I mean, they're a great bunch of guys. Rob knows Alice quite well because they live not far away
Oh
from each other.
yes, Phoenix,
Um,
Arizona.
Yeah, and it's great to slot right back in.
No doubt.
It was great.
Well, I know Judas Priest has felt the reinvigoration of the band with Richie Faulkner, the Firepower album in 2018, Invincible Shield 2024, the induction in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I mean, how does it feel to, after all these years, be the longest active member and seeing the band on that upswing?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, he put a whole new energy into the band. Um, I mean, when Ken left, it would have been the easiest thing in the world to say, "Oh, let's knock it on the head," you know. But we'd got a tour booked, and we had we said, well, we've got to go ahead with this, you know. And Richie came along, and as soon as we heard him, we realised he's a phenomenal player, you know. And of course, he was young, you know. He's the same age as my son, and of course, he put a whole new energy into the band, and and gave us all incentive again, you know. I mean,
Well, it's
that was going to be our slowing down tour, the Epitaph tour, you know,
yes.
but that didn't quite work out.
Yeah, I was there for that. You guys after a tour like that, you take a little time off and you look at each other like, retire from
Yeah,
what?
yeah, I
You
know.
know, going around the world, playing great places, seeing great people, collaborating with the best that's there. I mean, that's
Yeah,
nothing to retire from. Well, we congratulate you, Ian Hill, and the rest of the band for an amazing era of music. And I know we encourage everyone to go out and see the band. Of course, you're here at the LA Forum on October 19th. Priest has played so many great shows at the LA Forum and the sports arena, so much history in Southern California. Can't wait to have you back. Thank you so much for all you've done, and best of luck in the future.
yeah, we're looking forward to getting there. Yep. Th Thank you. Be safe.